last one. If you couldn't tell, these are my project boards. Every school has something where you have to put, some research in, and you got to, put it on a presentation board and present it to people's parents, grandparents, I don't know, and you get graded. Wow, this is so unrelatable. And it's always tough for a not so skilled in the art, the art area. It's really difficult for uncreative people to do this. I can put my creativity into something like this, but when it comes to sticking things on a piece of paper, it ain't so pretty. So my first ever soul presentation board that I did was on Tim Burton. I didn't even finish researching. I was just like, oh, that's good. And I put it on. It was horrible. I didn't save it. I wasn't proud of it. I was just like, why did I do that? I didn't even have a book source. You're supposed to have a book source for every project you do. So, the presentation board is the very end part of what we do, at least. We have to make an outline. We have to make some note cards. We have to make like 3 paper drafts, and we had to cite our sources and all that. Also, we get graded for our spiel, and my spiel was pretty good for this year until kids came over, and then no, I changed it up to try to make it more interesting. It just didn't work. Mine was on the history of the English language. I mean, what kid actually cares about that? No one, I'll tell you. Let me just show you one of my earlier ones. This is the second presentation I ever did. So yeah, what I did mine on is types of comics. Why did I even decide that had to be a project? I was so into comics at the time. I just was ridiculously into comics. So I had like 3 sections. One was an example of a sequential comic, Peanuts. One was a memoir comic, and then another section had Bone and Superman. I have trouble explaining why I did this. One entire site is dedicated to the people who made these comics websites. I really wanted to fill space. Oh my god, look, one of my paragraphs isn't even the same size as the other paragraphs. On one, I did my sources, like, by pen, and I printed out an entire web page to put how to draw comics. Oh my god, I do not know. Come on, it was horrendous. It was horrendous, but that was my first presentation. I don't even know what this is. I mean, I literally just, said the plot of comics and crap. I mean, and did we write a whole paper on this? I don't know how I wrote a whole paper on this piece of trash. Seriously, I mean, god dang. I did almost everything by hand. And I literally just printed out an entire webpage so I can fill up more space. My title is slanted. And, oh my god. I made my title, like, in pen, too. And, oh my god. The only thing that's text is, like, the stuff about the comics. And then I cut out my pictures. My pictures actually don't look that bad, but I put the titles for the comics also in pen. The biggest thing that I'm proud of this board is a beautiful, beautiful little Mr. Comic Book Guy printout from a non-color printer at the top. That's the biggest achievement of this project. I would love to throw this away. I mean, but, maybe it'll come up in another video. I don't know. I keep all this stuff around just because, like, oh, maybe I'll use it in a video. Gosh, I have such crappy boards. But one thing I will say is my parents give me the same exact advice every year. Lay your board out and use the paper chopper. You know what I do? None of those things. I never do. This year I thought about, drawing out my board, but I don't know. I don't really nah, I just didn't feel like I had time. I just wanted to rush things. And, you know, my board wasn't actually that bad. But first, let me show you something I did in 5th grade. The last one was from 4th. Woo-wee, it's wacky. And it smells. Gosh, dang. As you can tell, I did all of my own drawings. Regardless of whether they were good or not, I mean, they were creative. I actually, you know, I mean, I always go with the flow, but I actually thought looked pretty decent. I mean, I made some pictures every once in a while. It's very colorful. I have 2 question marks at the top, you know. I have like a little brain drawing right here. So, I mean, it's not a terrible board. Those arrow things are kind of poorly cut out. You know, I did in Comic Sans, my bibliography, oh my gosh, it's huge. And some of the stuff I did in pen just as, you know, just to take up space. But, you know, but I thought this board was colorful. I think it might have caught people's eye. It got a lot of people at my board. So, not too shabby. Now, the one I did in 6th grade, unfortunately, is at my school, because I brought it there to just give people examples of what to do for their board, really not to do for their board. So my board last year was meh. It wasn't very colorful. It was on Harper Lee. My research was all good, just wasn't very colorful. I sort of did things last minute. It's like, oh god, let's put a color background on one of the pictures. There weren't very many pictures at all. But with that, let's just get into my board that I did as of late. Let's open this baby up. And, I mean, I have to say, this is probably my best board. So, it's not great. There's a lot of text. It is on the history of the English language. Oh, gosh. Okay. It is on the history of the English language. Which, you know, I thought it was pretty interesting to research that topic. It was very hard to trim down what I thought was interesting. There are a lot of things that are interesting, but I just put the bare history. So I have like this big map layout and then I have a bunch of paragraphs, not backed by unfortunately they're not backed by that construction paper like the rest are, but had pictures of some flags pointed to them. Every once in a while there's a picture I would put with context. I mentioned the Australian bird Budgerigar. I mentioned Thomas Macaulay. You know, have beautiful paintings for like the Vikings and stuff, and the Angles and the Saxons, and I have some books that came out at the time. So, I mean, I think it caught people's eye. I'm pretty proud of my title. I need to get some glue next year. It's definitely a thing. And some of my tape is a bit dirty. But that's mostly what I have to say about this. And I love the board. The other ones are horrible. They were like styrofoam. Yeah, didn't really... I don't like styrofoam very much. So, nice, got a good old-fashioned cardboard from Elmer's. Okay, that was the sound of it falling. So if you're ever doing a project board, if you're a creative person, you know, then you'll have no problem. I mean, if you can really, you know, think of some creative things to do. I just don't really have, you know, a whole lot I mean, I put most of my, you know, stuff in my paper, and my paper always, you know, gets pretty good grade. And usually, you know, I don't have to do like the third draft or whatever, and usually I do pretty well. There's a few typos here and there, and there are some things that I've just used for I mean, they're not completely related to my topic, but I feel like they're important to mention. So some of that stuff people don't really want, I guess. I don't know. But I enjoy academic fair, you know. It's a process, and I'm relieved when it's done. But for all of you people who have to do science fair, I feel sorry for you, because, oh my god, I would hate doing science fair. I mean, we have to do these occasional, like, small little projects. Those are fine. I can just look those up real quick put a memo, words, whatever. But, science fair, those experiments are just dumb because they really, I mean, you're asking yourself a question and it could turn, it's really based on the, how interesting the experiment is or what your answer is. Like, if it's just like, no. I mean, you just come up with a question and you try to answer that question, but that could lead to a very unriveting thing, and you're supposed to not really be able to predict it. So I think science fair is kind of dumb, and I'm glad we don't do it. We get to choose our own projects, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I love education, and I think it's important, and I learned a lot of new things, and a lot of people really liked my board, and they learned a lot of new things. I mean, I'm sitting here educating people's parents on the history of the English language. Just, stuff I found interesting that, maybe not everyone else will, but they wind up learning something, and I think it's great. I just hope you enjoyed this short little vlog video. It's over 10 minutes, so I was about to go nice, but I just swallowed on my own spit. Okay! Boy, oh boy, okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I'll see you next video, and mighty roar.